I should explain what's in front of me. Let's start there. Let's start at the beginning. So, this is axe boxes, paper clips, half a paper clip, some Dream Steam wheels, a chassis, and a bucket. Now this is a little bit of a story to tell. Probably 3 years ago, not long after I got my first 3D printer, it didn't take long to think, can I print the larger scale railway models, wagons, locos, even maybe track? Well, the answer is yes I can, with an important caveat. These are the important caveat. So what do I mean? Well, it turns out that you can 3D print most things, but not everything is suited to being 3D printed. Mechanical bearing surfaces are not good 3D printed. Plastic just wears far too fast, especially this FDM process. As you can see, it doesn't give the best, most solid finish. These parts are quite soft, porous, brittle. The wear rate is incredible once you start putting mechanical properties through it, trying to make it into bearings, etc. But in our scales, especially once you get down to what is 16mm, that doesn't matter quite so much. All that matters is that the part can maintain itself for our use case. So what have we got going on here then? So again, like I said, about 3 years ago, decided to try and print a wagon. So I found a wagon on Thingiverse, a tipper wagon. At the time I was learning Tinkercad, so I modified it, added some detail, mostly only these little like fiddly bolt things and bearing caps and whatnot. Also shrunk it down because it was G-scale, so I shrunk it down, cut the top of the bucket, shortened it, the same with the chassis, shortened it all down, and we have what we have. So right now you're going to watch me put it together. Now, by the blue plastic, I can pretty much tell this was printed 2.5–3 years ago, somewhere around that ballpark. These wheels were acquired much more recently to finish this off. So what have we got then? Let's move the wheels out of the way so they don't keep rolling away. So we have a chassis. Much like a generic industrial tipper chassis, it's supposed to represent just extruded metal, like angle iron or any other. Big old block couplings, they're already glued in place. We have the 4 bearings. Again, you can tell the print quality from my old printer, but it's good enough for this job. So what are the paper clips for? Well, I found the paper clips work quite well as couplings in this scale. I know they don't look amazing, but they work. And that's all I was going for. So let's see how how simple this thing is to put together then. Well, the axle boxes just clip over those lugs. And before we put the other side on, we put the wheels in. So you just go in those holes. This is what I was saying about plastic not being amazing bearing surfaces, but good enough. We guide that one in. That's where we need another pair of hands really, but we can get away with it. Like that. And the last one. Okay, it on the lug. Make sure they both rotate. Again, look at the variance and bend in those. I will be redesigning those, but it does indeed roll. Bucket in, bucket tips. It's a tipper wagon after all. The couplings do work. You can drop half a paper clip in, insert the other paper clip under it if you want, drop the pin through it, and it works as a coupling. So this is just the start of this rabbit hole of 3D printing, large scale, miniature or model or miniature railway things. And this isn't just the only one I've printed. Oh no, a couple of those years ago I printed a few. Let's turn this one round, just to prove that they do in fact work. Look, there we go. And believe me, when you've got city radius corners, which is the next top, which is something else to show you, having couplings this coarse scale and this long and loose is a godsend. But I bet you're wondering where this is going. Well, this has, let's say this is graduated from reasonably, they do the job, they don't look terrible. I mean, they do look terrible, but they do the trick. They're tipper wagons in 16mm scale. This is recently graduated. I say recently graduated because I'm still putting it together. Again, from Thingiverse, I make no apologies for just finding stuff to print on Thingiverse. I am in the process of drawing my own stuff, but I'm not good enough to make them super detailed yet. But I will show you that in a later video. Here we have a nice little, reasonably detailed, generic, narrow gauge shunter. The bonnet comes off. Eventually get to the gubbins in there. You can also go through the cab, through the space. And I'm not going to tip it upside down because I've just filled it with liquid gravity that needs to get dry. But there is space under it to mount this power drive unit that came from Fleabay. And yes, that is a USB plug for power. It works. It gets a good rate of speed on. But it works. So once I've got a speed controller, this is going to be a little USB powered garden railway loco. Why not? If it's this simple. But we're not stopping here. Oh no. As I said earlier, I am drawing my own, but I'm not sticking to 16mm. We're going for 3.5 inch. What do I mean by 3.5 inch? Well, let's go for a size of comparison, shall we? If these are all 16mm SM32, this is a 3.5 wagon. Quite a bit larger, but by no means the end of the game. The buffer I'm holding in my hand is for a 5-inch wagon, just to compare buffer sizes. But it doesn't stop there either. I have somewhere, oh yeah, right here, one of these boxes rattles. what is currently there are parts for this one on the printer, coming on the printer at the moment. If I get the buffer again, the next buffer. Yeah, see? And again, so 3.5, 5, 7.25. Yeah, it's quite a bit larger, isn't it? Quite a bit larger. So we are going for 3D printed wagons and or locos in pretty much every size, from 009, which is in the works as well, all the way up through SM32, 3.5, 5-inch. The 5-inch wagon is more complete, is about as complete as this 3.5 wagon, up to 7.25. Now the 7.25 will be the main focus of the body of this series, the assembly, how well it works, pitfalls, but just as another point of comparison, because it does emphasise a point quite well. Let's push this over here. I'll keep that on there just so it's very visible alongside the 5-inch one. Let's bring this power thing back into shot. I'll move the cable. So here's your 16mm SM32 size wheels. Here's a 7.25 wheel. And here's another one. So I'll stop it rolling away. Now these haven't got the tyres on, so they're not the actual flanges, they're just locators for the tyres. Yeah, we're getting the picture here. Okay then. What about this? This one corner for the 7.25 wagon is the same as this little section here on the 3.5. That's all I'm going to say about it for this video. The main focus of this series, as I said, will be the assembly of the 7.25, but you will see me finishing off the 3.5 and the 5-inch wagon, which I can't fit in the same shot as all the rest of it. Little disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by 3D Jake. I wish it were, that would be amazing. But everything I print, I've had most success using 3D Jake's Eco PLA. They do a nice bundle of black PLA and white PLA for 35 quid or something like that, a kilo of each. You can't go wrong at that price. It prints well enough for the purposes of this, and it works. So while I'm not sponsored by 3D Jake, I do fully endorse them. So it's should be quite an interesting project. Obviously, I have the ability to run SM32 45, which 45mm gauge 1 again. There will be one of those in this as part of this wider project too. We have access to a decent 3.5 track as well as 5-inch. The 7.25 wagon, we don't yet have a regular track we can get to, although a bit of temporary track, portable track will do the trick to show the point. But I hope you stick with me on this series. We'll be dancing around through the gauges. I'm not going to just finish one and then do another. As and when I print bits or feel in the mood to do a particular size, gauge, scale, we'll carry on a bit with that one, as and when I can afford parts as well. Now back to the original point of what's mechanically suitable to printed and what's not. As with these ones, the only parts of the 3.5, 5 and 7.25 that won't be printed are the axles and the bearings in the axle boxes. The axle boxes will be printed, the horns will be printed, but the bearings and the axles won't be. Let's see what happens.